All right, you know there's a bunch of crazy folks who now control the House in D.C., and that's MAGA Republicans. And so they have this oversight committee dealing with the representation of the federal government. Jim Jordan, the nutcase out of Ohio, is leading it. And he is forever getting into it with Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett from the Virgin Islands. Here is some of their back and forth on that committee.
The American people to see, you don't want the American people to see what happened, the full video, transparency. You don't want that, and you don't want two journalists who have been named personally by the Biden administration, FTC, in a letter.
The Biden administration.
And you're saying they're here to help us. They're here to tell their story. And frankly, I think they're brave individuals for being willing to come after they've been named in a letter from the Biden FTC.
Is this your question time now?
No, I'm responding to your ridiculous statements you made in your opening statement.
Okay, well, let's get on with it.
Oh, now we want to get on with it. So you can say all the things you want. And I
did in my opening statement, as well as you had an opening statement. You said what you needed to say in your opening statement, and I, as the ranking member, have used my time.
Without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record. We will introduce today's witness, Matt Taibbi. I just think this is interesting. First, the FTC is asking for your backgrounds. And now the ranking member of the Committee on the Weaponization of Government is asking for your sources.
I never asked them for their sources.
Yes,
I did not ask for sources. You know what? I asked if they were talking to Elon Musk. And they said that they were not talking. Well, you are not going to say I've asked for sources.
I will yield back to the gentlelady. I thank her for yielding.
With respect, you asked me who gave me
I asked you who gave it to you, and once you said they were your sources, I then asked you if you had spoken with Elon Musk. I did not ask you who those sources were.
The gentlelady from Wyoming is recognized, and she will receive an additional 20 seconds.
Caught up with Congresswoman Plaskett talking about what Republicans are trying to do on the Hill. Here's our conversation.
All right, Congressman Plaskett, Lord have mercy. Jim Jordan, he does not like you having to sit next to him on this committee.
He looks a little uncomfortable, I would say. But it is what it is.
I mean, so here's the thing that is very interesting here. This whole weaponization committee is supposed to be targeting that, but then you have Republicans now wanting to go after the Manhattan DA. I've never seen a situation where people who supposedly are law and order now have a problem with law and order because he's actually using his powers, which he was elected to do, and they're angry about that.
They're always angry about law and order when law and order is not doing what they want. When law and order is about the law and following the law wherever it takes them, the facts wherever it takes them. And sometimes it takes them to the GOP. It takes them to Jim Jordan. It takes them to Trump. And they're uncomfortable with that. They don't want that. And then we get their victimization and their grievances about how the federal system, the legal system has been weaponized against them. It's not been weaponized against them. It's doing its job. And what's unfortunate about this committee is they're trying to also, Roland, desensitize Americans to the rule of law.
Well, I look at the whole issue when I listen to them talking about defund the police.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans for 2 decades since Waco have done all they could to defund the ATF. Now you have Matt Gaetz talking about defund the ATF, the FBI, all of the different people because they're angry at them. So they're critical. What they're trying to say Democrats are trying to do, they literally have done it because they don't, when they're angry about a arm of law enforcement, then they counter with, oh, we now need to get rid of them and take their funding.
Sure.
Last I checked, it's the same thing.
They want law enforcement when law enforcement is going after other people, not them. That's what it boils down to.
When it comes to again these different investigations, it also, I guess, to me is sort of laughable to have a chairman demand that people comply with subpoenas when didn't he blow off the January 6th committee subpoenas?
Yes, he is out of compliance with the subpoena issued by the January 6th committee for him to give testimony as to what he knew or didn't know to one of the greatest travesties of American history, an attempted insurrection and overthrow of our government on January 6th.
I have spent a lot of time really trying to walk my viewers and listeners through what is going on here. And what I keep saying to people, that if they do not use the power of their vote,
yes,
we are going to regret individuals who are going to be in power, because the agenda that they have, because they looked at where Trump screwed up, and they are right now planning and plotting a significant change to how this country is run if they take control of the White House in 2024.
You are absolutely right, Roland. I mean, you look at this committee, much of the work that is happening on the Select Committee on the weaponization of the federal government is really test running so many of their conspiracy theories and the messaging that they're going to use for the 2024 election. Let's look at them saying that the federal government is going after parents when it relates to school boards. And this is something, this whole parental rights issue is something that they feel was successful during the governor's race in Virginia. And so they're trying to nationalize this discussion about culture wars, about a civil dispute in the classroom with our children. The Weaponization Committee is doing it this week on the floor of the House. They had a bill that they put forward that is really about rewriting history, about desensitizing our children to what American history really is, trying to make parents fearful about what is happening in the classroom, banning books, and then they want to take this throughout the country. They attached, Roland, this bill that they're calling Parental Rights Bill, which is a bill to really bring culture wars into our classroom, is stating that if school districts do not follow this, they will take away school lunches in those areas, federal subsidized school lunches, which will affect 9 million children throughout the United States.
And we're talking about children who need, that's a nutritional issue.
Right.
Those are poor kids, and a lot of them are poor white kids.
Yes, they are.
From conservative districts.
From Kentucky, from Mississippi, from the places that are completely red. But we know that people vote against their own interests all the time.
Last question for you, and that is this here. Folks are watching and listening, and again, I can't stress enough to them what the strategy is here. What do you want African Americans and others to be doing? Because folks say, man, that's just folks playing games on Capitol Hill, but these are folks with power, with real power, who will use that power for their own purposes.
Who will use that power for their purposes and against African American Black folks' interests. Let's look at what DeSantis has done in Florida, right? DeSantis has now made the study of African American history as if that is something adverse, removing it from the College Board's AP. Your history, Black people's history, is something that we should be avoided. That should have every Black parent up in arms. And this is something that they're now trying to nationalize. Roland, I hate to say this, but our brothers and sisters in Florida, we know statistically that if 65% of the registered voters, of the registered African-American voters in Florida had voted, we wouldn't have DeSantis as governor right now. So people have got to realize that all of these issues are our issues, and their engagement is the fight for all of us. And that engagement includes voting. It includes you voting, getting your children, if they're over 18, voting, get your family out there to vote, and be engaged and push back against this rhetoric. Because if it's repeated enough, it takes root. And that's a real problem as well.
Well, look, I absolutely 100%. And look, stay the course. I know you are, as they say, the old saying, you're a pebble in their shoe. And it's driving them crazy.
A pebble, I'm trying to be a rock. I'm trying to be a boulder, Roland, just like you.
Well, look, I always say if somebody bring a knife to a gunfight, I'd rather bring a bazooka and get it over real quick. Congresswoman, it's always great to see you. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Thanks for your work. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Take care.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.